Welcome back to the Playdate. I'm your host, Susan Petersen.
And I'm your host, Klea Turner.
Hi, Klea. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I am having a mixed emotion day.
Why?
Well, okay, so we're going on a cruise tomorrow.
Where are you going?
Mexico. Like the, Cabo,
Yep.
Puerto Vallarta. And I'm excited, but we're going for 8 days. My husband surprise planned this trip, which bless his heart.
Yeah.
I'm so grateful that he would go plan this on his own accord. Like, incredible, right? But I get so seasick, first of all. So why are we going on an 8-day cruise? Don't know. Second of all, actually, I've never been on a cruise, but I get seasick on other boats. Second
Same.
of all, we're leaving True for 8 days.
Oh, and he didn't run this by you?
No, he booked a non-refundable 8-day cruise and didn't ask me. And I was, so anyway.
Sometimes you think you're doing the right thing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. And I've asked him, I'm like, I would love if you would book a trip for us. And I said that a long time ago. And he's like, well, I was just doing what you wanted me to do. So I'm like, you're right. And I'm so excited. And I feel like we definitely need the quality time. And the sleep is going to be incredible. So I'm so excited. But I'm just the thought of leaving True is ripping my soul from my body.
How old is she?
She's 8 months.
Oh, it's so hard to leave your babies at first. Let's talk about that, actually.
Okay.
Let's talk about it. Have you left her yet?
No, I've left her for one night with Mason so I could have a girls' trip.
With your husband. Okay.
But that wasn't that was I needed to leave. I needed to get out of my home. So that was fine. And I stopped breastfeeding her at 3 months.
Okay.
So I've always been able to leave her since then. And I leave her during the day all the time. My mom and his mom will watch her for certain things or when I work. But I've never left her me and Mason have never both left her. And she's never slept the night at my mom's house, at my in-laws' house. So,
okay, I know you know this, but she's going to be fine.
I know.
And you guys are going to be fine. I travel for work a lot. And even until my kids, well, I didn't realize that I had anxiety, but even until they were much past the baby stage, I would kind of have a come apart the night before I left.
That's how I'm feeling.
And I would be like, what if something happens to us on the trip or whatever?
Well, Susan, I wrote a letter. I'm going to cry. I was like, well, if we die, my family needs to know my wishes. So I was writing a letter and I was like, if we die, I was like, please give custody to my parents. And then I started sobbing and I was like, please raise her in a loving home and give her opportunity. And I was like, please never let her forget how much we love her. I'm like, this is horrible. Why am I writing this letter?
Well,
you never know. You could die.
You never know.
But I'm like, this is the worst thing in my life. And I was sobbing and Mason walks in. He's like, are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, nothing.
I'm just worst case scenarioing and breaking my own heart and hurting my own feelings. Let me do it in peace.
I'm so good at the worst case scenario. My intrusive thoughts. Oh my gosh, Mason, we were talking about it the other day, and I was like, "Do you ever get intrusive thoughts?" And he's like, "Yeah, every couple days." And I was like, "Oh, that's lucky." And he's like, "How often do you get intrusive thoughts?" I was like, "Probably 10 to 15 a day of the most horrific thing that could possibly happen."
Yeah,
I'm thinking of.
What did this happen before you had her?
A little bit. I've always had anxiety.
Yes,
I feel like my anxiety actually got a lot better when I was pregnant, physically.
Yep.
But I just my brain is now compensating with intrusive thoughts because I don't have as many physical symptoms of anxiety that I did, but I have the mental torment of it now. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. It definitely the intrusive thoughts have gotten really bad since I had her.
Yeah.
But
I think that's pretty common among moms where you're I can remember if I would walk too close to the railing, I would be like, oh no, I got to hold her.
That happened to me the other day. I'm like, she's going to fall over the edge and then I'm going to call the ambulance and I'm going to run. And I don't know why.
Yeah.
Obviously everything's going to be totally fine.
Right.
And then of course on this trip, I'm like, we're both going to die for sure. And then who's going to raise True? And then why? I know we're going to be fine. Everything's going to be fine.
You're going to be fine. Okay. I have a funny little theory on why we feel this way when our kids are really little. I feel like they still feel part of us.
For 100%.
I could remember when, I think at 3, I could feel, this is going to sound so weird, but if you're a mom, you probably know what I mean. I could feel them kind of pulling away from me a little bit, my soul, kind of.
Yes.
My kids, until I was 3, felt like they were part of my soul a little bit.
I could totally see. That's so interesting to hear because I was explaining to Mason. I said, because I'm like, you're sad to leave her, but he's okay. He's like, it's going to be fine. And I'm like, I know, and it'll be fine. And I'm excited to have a break and stuff. But it literally feels like a physical part of me is being separated.
Yeah.
And it like physically like almost hurts. And he's
Yeah.
like, I don't understand that. And I'm like, obviously you love her so much, you're her dad, but you just can't. I think biologically as moms, we truly are just so connected.
Yeah.
I think especially if you're breastfeeding too. I'm not breastfeeding, but like that would be even more, even harder just because you truly are like physically connected. But
totally. And there's nothing wrong with going on a trip. You deserve it. You are going to have a great time. Okay. First of all, what are you doing to prepare for your trip? Like for her, for your parents, for adult? I imagine you've optimized and planned within an inch of your life.
Yep.
And then what are you doing to prepare for seasickness? So I want to know both of those.
Oh, I'm prepared for every possible scenario. That's the thing when you have anxiety.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You're prepared for every single thing.
Yeah,
that can
yeah.
happen.
No,
So
you have a plan
that makes
B,
me feel
C,
better.
and D.
Mhm,
Yes.
exactly. I know that there's a cruise hospital in case I need a cruise hospital. To prepare for her, I made what's called the Beansy Bible because we call her Beans.
Okay.
So it has every instruction you could possibly need. I showed it to my mom today. It's a binder. It has 20 pages in it.
Okay.
I spent a lot of hours making
I'm
this.
so proud of you. And I think you should feel validated because
So
I'm sure
funny, so
some
embarrassing.
moms listening are like, yeah, I did the same thing. Yeah.
Mhm. I told my friend about it and she's like, that's hysterical that you'd have a binder. And she has twins. And I'm like, if you left on an 8-day trip, I know that you would make a binder of all your instructions.
Yeah. She'd create an app.
There's so much to remember.
Yes.
And then I was making the list of all the stuff we need to pack up to like send to my in-laws' house because my in-laws are watching her the first half and then my parents are watching her the second half. So there's going to be...
She's going to have a blast.
She's going to have so much fun. And I keep telling myself, I'm like, babies have no concept of time. Like she doesn't know it's going to be 8 days and she won't know. But in my mind, I'm like, she's going to miss me and be counting down the hours. I'm like, no, she won't.
She'll miss you and she'll be so excited when you come back. Yes.
I hope so. My parents left me about this age and they came back and I was like, who are you? Like I was not happy. So we'll see.
You still hold it against them.
Yeah. I was pretty mad. But anyway, and then just like packing up all her stuff. There is so much stuff. Like her bottle sterilizer, her bottle maker, her life vac, because I'm scared she's going to choke. And so I'm like, you got to have the life vac to like suck out food if she chokes on a piece of like just every single little thing. So there's a lot. I probably don't need as much as I'm going to pack for her, but baby, they just need so many things.
Yeah. And have you seen that meme where it's like, I'm going on a 3-day trip, so I've packed 5 French horns.
Literally me. Exactly.
Right. You never know what will come up.
Exactly. Well, and then the seasickness. So I've been to like Lake Powell.
Okay.
And I've stayed on a houseboat and I've been fine.
Yeah.
I'm fine like on a lake. The only time I've gotten extremely seasick has been when we were deep sea fishing.
Okay.
And when we were in Hawaii and we were on this boat by these cliffs and it was like rocking. Deep sea fishing, I threw up for 5 hours straight. It was horrific. So I know a cruise is so different.
Right.
Like I know that it's a lot more smooth than a deep sea fishing boat with 6-foot swells. I know that.
Right.
But I've brought everything possible. I have Dramamine. I have Meclizine. I have like 3 other medications. I don't even remember their names. I have the glasses, the motion sickness glasses.
Yes.
Well, we had to pack those because you never know if they'll work.
1 French horn down. What else?
Exactly. I have ginger. I have relief bands from when I was pregnant.
Okay.
That might be it.
Okay. So that sounds about like a couple French horns.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think you'll be fine. I get very motion sickness. Like sometimes I can't read in the car.
Yeah, same.
Or look at my phone,
Mhm.
especially when my husband's driving because we have an electric car and he likes to go super fast. And then I'm like, ugh.
Me too.
I get nauseous. My preferred mode of transportation in the car is to fall asleep.
Just to not know.
Just to get, and I think like fighting the seasickness or the motion sickness makes me more tired.
That would be nice because I can't fall asleep because I also have to be controlling Mason while he drives so that we get where we're going safe.
Yeah, because how else would he get you there?
Exactly. We wouldn't make it.
I mean,
it's not like he drives to work and gets himself home safe every day.
Sure, or he hasn't gotten to this point in life all by himself.
Mhm.
It reminds me of that other meme. We're just a bunch of memes.
I love
where
memes.
It's like, I stayed up all night worrying about my family and nothing that I worried about happened. So they have me to thank for this.
Literally me.
Yeah, all that energy and time.
Or it's like, if someone else doesn't worry, like who's going to worry as good as I worry?
Right.
No one will.
We can talk about that offline. You're doing fine. You're doing great, Klea. Everything you do is amazing, but I don't worry anymore.
Okay.
And
I won't.
No. It takes a lot. But I'm going to tell you, when True starts driving,
I'm already worried about that.
Yeah.
See, I'm having to pre-worry 16 years ahead.
I know. And it's just not worth your time or energy. Think
You're
of all
so
that
right.
worrying time you could be doing something else. But I mean,
You're right.
We're in the crawling stage, barely with her. So like, let's not even worry about driving. I'm just going to tell you that you have to get yourself to a place where you can manage that, because I had to. And I had to have a nervous breakdown in order to get there. And I don't think everyone needs to go through that.
So how was that with your kids? Like, did that start when you were a young mom?
So I don't know that I've ever been good at managing my stress levels.
Me neither.
Well, and I think I love my mom. She's perfect. Like, she really did the best she could. She had 5 kids in 7 years, and she had another baby 8 years later. So there were 6 of us. You know, she moved away from her support system, which back then meant long distance phone calls or letters or seeing people like once every few years. So I think she had mental illness, but at the time, like no one talked about it.
That wasn't a thing.
I can remember when her and my dad went to this like seminar. I was like 8 or 9, and they came home with this big green binder. Like, if you're watching or if you're listening, it's like 3-inch binder. And it said the theory of premenstrual syndrome.
Saying all of your issues are coming from this.
Yeah, but they had just barely categorized PMS.
Really?
So
it was like the new.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes. Like,
what year was that?
That would have been like in the 80s.
Really?
Yes. So like, we've come such a far way, but she for sure struggled with mental illness and back then you'd go on an SSRI and they'd tell you to come off it. So they were taking people on and off SSRIs all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we rode the roller coaster of her emotions, and she really did the best she could. Mm-hmm. She's an incredible mom. She will drop anything, do anything, come take care of you, reorganize your whole kitchen, and just she's incredible. But I didn't see good mental, emotional coping mechanisms modeled. And so when I first started working, I was super stressed because no one in my life had owned a business. I was the first one to do it.
And your business was growing so fast.
Yeah. And I had young children. And so I didn't have good coping mechanisms. I started going to a therapist, and that was really helpful. And I'm also like, I want to be the best patient the therapist has ever had. So I also...
Don't we all?
So I would kind of run... Anyway, I've learned really good emotional and mental coping mechanisms, but I would say we had a pretty traumatic experience professionally in my life, which took about 3.5 years to recover from, but it affected every part of my life, my private life, my spiritual life, my public life, like my home life, like everything was affected from this. And it was really a ton of work. And it was like every night, go to sleep poorly, wake up. Okay, what are the 5 things I have to do today before I can even address this? So it was just like...
Mm-hmm. Were you always in like fight or flight?
Yeah, for 3 years.
Wow.
And so then I got it all organized, and then we had like these good results from it. And I really was like out for a walk. It was like beautiful August day. And I was like, had a therapy appointment that day. And I was like, I'm going to cancel. Like, everything in my life's really good. I have nothing to worry about. And then I canceled my therapy appointment. And within a week, like, I was having nonstop anxiety attacks.
Really?
Like, I would wake up with them. I would have like 3 or 4 during the day. I would go to sleep with them. I would then like have 2 or 3 in the middle of the night that would wake me up. And it was just like constant attack.
I've lived through that before too.
It's not fun.
So hard.
And then you start to kind of gaslight yourself. I would be like, oh, I can't take Xanax because I'm going to get addicted to the 0.5 milligram that I take.
That has happened to me personally. Yep.
And I was really at crisis level emotionally. I was not in a safe space. My husband was great. My kids were very nervous. And I decided to go on an SSRI. But when you're at crisis level and you go onto an SSRI, it's actually really, really scary. And I would say for 6 weeks, it got worse before it got better.
Really?
Yeah.
I have heard that before.
when you're at crisis
yeah.
level. Yeah.
Mhm.
It's very, very
The adjustment
scary.
period is really hard. But then would you say after that 6 months, like things
6 weeks. Yeah.
Sorry, 6 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah. No, things started really to look up.
Yeah.
And I started to have, well, I would say at about 4 weeks is kind of when I hit like this, I can't be alone. I can't be
Mhm.
trusted by myself kind of thing, which I've never had that experience before in my life. And then I started to have a few good days a week. And then at 6 weeks, I started to have more good days than bad days.
Okay.
But it was about a 4-month.
Really hard.
Yeah.
That's what I've heard is that medication is so incredible once you're adjusted to it. But like the whole period waiting is so hard because you're like, well, it's not working. And then it gives you more anxiety because you're like, I don't know. It's just a whole.
Well, so I have a few people in my life who have gone on it not being at crisis level and actually within 2 weeks have started to feel a lot better.
Really?
Yeah.
I could see that
and
too.
didn't have an adjustment.
Because your body's not so, I don't know. When you're at crisis level, I feel like you have so many physical symptoms too. And it's everything just feels like it's crashing down.
Right.
So.
Well, and my chemicals were so far off that
Mhm.
then you add a new chemical into it. And I couldn't see a way out. But my kids were great. They were really supportive and we were very open and honest. I think Hattie was 15 at the time and Gus was 13.
Okay. So they were old enough to know like mom's going through this, like, but that I feel like that's nice. So you can have conversations with them about it and they can understand. Because I think it's probably so hard when you have little kids and you're going through a crisis. I mean, it's so hard any time of your life, but especially with little kids if they can't understand what's going on.
Yeah. And I think little kids can't not make it about themselves.
Right.
And so they'll take it on. And my kids
like internalize it.
Yeah.
Almost.
My older kids felt that a little bit, but we definitely talked through it. And they didn't see the scariest moments.
Right.
Those
How did you like talk through it with them?
Just that this was a result of me not taking care of myself and not having coping mechanisms in place, and that the medicine's going to be the first step. And then we're going to work towards having those coping mechanisms. And then we're just really open with them around like, oh, here's what I learned. Here's how I used to deal with this thing in my life that wasn't healthy. And here's what I've learned. And here's how I'm taking care of it now.
Which I love. Like, how lucky are your kids, though, that they have that example? A lot of kids don't, like, their parents will go through things like this and they don't communicate it. And they can tell something's wrong, but they don't know. But how lucky that your kids have that example that I mean, obviously it sucked that you had to go through that, but that you have all these healthy coping mechanisms, that you go to therapy, that you tell them, this is what I feel like, this is what's happening with me. And so if that ever happens in their life, they can recognize that.
Yeah. One of my children, he might be an empath because he started to feel these anxiety symptoms. And then, but we just got him in talk therapy, and we were just like working through it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, here's the thing that I always want people to come away from the Playdate on is like, what works for one person doesn't work for every person. And you're going to know what's right for your family. And if it feels crazy, it's probably close to what you need to do.
Yeah. You know what's interesting with my anxiety is I had a lot of like health anxiety because a few years ago I just went through this whole health crisis thing. And I was going to therapy and doctors like literally once a week. It was so often. And I was finally just so I was in my like crisis mode and I was having panic attacks. I was going to the ER. Like I was thinking I was having
heart
problem.
Yes,
yeah. So
been there.
Yeah. So I went, and finally one day I was like, I'm just not going to go to the doctor anymore. I can't do it because it was giving me so much anxiety. And I went like, I feel like I just released a lot of those emotions. And that's when I started to feel better, was when I wasn't like focusing on it all day. Cause I thought, I'm like, if I just go to therapy like 2 or 3 times a week, like I'll be better. But it wasn't like helping me.
It was making it worse.
So it's just interesting because like, I don't know, I like different things can just help different people.
Like 2 different approaches. Yeah.
And when I got pregnant, my anxiety actually got a lot better. I don't know if it was my hormones were evening out.
Yeah.
I don't know. So it's just interesting.
Well, that took a different turn.
Yeah,
but I'm glad. I feel like mental health is such an important part of I think good mental health is such an important part of being a good mom. And so I'm always happy to talk about mental health. Yeah.
And I love that example. Like, I think part of being a good mom is communicating with your kids and like letting them know
to the level that they can handle it. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm like so grateful.
Well, thanks, Klea.
So cool. Thank you, Susan.